The green energy revolution, our supposed salvation from climate change, is built on a shaky foundation. We're told that wind turbines and electric cars are the future. What we're not told is that this entire multi-trillion-dollar green economy depends on 17 obscure metals, and that one global power has quietly gained control over almost all of them. This is the story of how the world walked into a monopoly that could hold us all hostage. This is Mundane Marvels, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. And today we're talking about the green energy lie, how rare earths built a $150 trillion monopoly. Every time you see a sleek electric car glide silently down the street, or a massive wind turbine spinning against the horizon, you're looking at the promise of a cleaner future. A future we're told will save us from climate catastrophe. Governments and corporations are betting big on this vision, with projected investments soaring well past $100 trillion by 2050. It's one of the biggest industrial transformations in human history. But what if this green dream has a dark underside? What if the very technologies we need are built on a foundation of dependency? The electric vehicles, the wind turbines, the solar panels, even the phone in your hand, none of them would work without a specific group of materials known as rare earth elements. And the story of these elements isn't one of global cooperation. It's a story of strategic foresight, economic warfare, and the creation of a global chokehold. Because the uncomfortable truth is that the road to a green future runs directly through one country: China. So, what exactly are these materials that hold so much power? The name rare earths is a bit of a misnomer. They aren't all that rare in the Earth's crust. The group is made up of 17 chemically similar metals that are notoriously difficult and dirty to mine and separate. Think of them not as a bulk ingredient, but as essential vitamins for modern technology. You only need a tiny amount, but without them, the entire system fails. A few grams of neodymium and praseodymium create the incredibly powerful, lightweight magnets that allow EV motors and wind turbines to function efficiently. To put this in perspective, your iPhone uses lanthanum in its camera lens. A Tesla Model 3 needs about 2 kilograms of rare earth magnets just for the motor, a single large offshore wind turbine, over 600 kilograms. These aren't abstract materials in a lab somewhere. They're in your pocket, your garage, and powering the grid. Europium and terbium create the vibrant colors on your screens. Without these elements, our most advanced green and digital technologies would be heavier, less efficient, and in many cases, simply impossible to build. The problem isn't their scarcity in the ground. It's the scarcity of anyone willing or able to process them. This complex, multi-stage process of turning raw ore into high-purity metals is where the real power lies, and one nation has spent decades mastering it, while the rest of the world wasn't paying attention. This didn't happen by accident. China's dominance is the result of a deliberate, decades-long strategy. Back in 1987, Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping laid out the vision with a now famous quote, "The Middle East has oil. China has rare earths." While the West saw a dirty, low-profit, and environmentally damaging industry, Beijing saw the building blocks of the 21st century. Through the 1980s and 90s, China strategically flooded the market. Aided by state support, low labor costs, and lax environmental standards, Chinese companies sold rare earths at prices no one could compete with. Mines across the world, including the once dominant Mountain Pass mine in the United States, were driven out of business. By the mid-2000s, after being the world's leading producer for decades, the US was importing 80% of its supply from China. But China didn't stop at mining. They understood that real control comes from processing. Today, while China mines roughly 60 to 70% of the world's rare earths, it controls nearly 90% of the far more critical processing capacity. Even rare earths mined in Australia or the United States often have to be sent to China to be refined into usable metals. This gives Beijing a chokehold on the entire global supply chain, a tool of geopolitical leverage it has already shown it's willing to use. The world got its first major wake-up call in 2010. During a territorial dispute, China halted rare earth exports to Japan, a high-tech manufacturing powerhouse. The move sent shockwaves through global industries, and prices for some elements shot through the roof. It was a clear demonstration that this wasn't just about business, it was about power. Since then, the threat has only grown. The US, EU, and Japan now officially call rare earths critical to national security. Why? Because modern defense technology is just as dependent on them as the green economy. Each F-35 fighter jet requires hundreds of kilograms of rare earth materials for its advanced radar, sensors, and missile guidance systems. One estimate suggests the amount is over 400 kilograms, or about 900 pounds per jet. This creates a staggering vulnerability. The very materials needed for advanced Western military hardware are almost exclusively supplied by its primary geopolitical competitor. Over the past few years, China has repeatedly signaled its readiness to use this monopoly as a weapon, placing export restrictions and licensing requirements on various rare earth elements and the technologies used to process them. This isn't just a trade issue. It's a national security crisis unfolding on a new front. This monopoly has huge economic consequences for everyone else. With control over the supply, China effectively sets the global price. When Beijing decides to impose export quotas or add new licensing rules, the cost of these essential metals goes up for everyone. This creates what can only be called a green energy tax paid by the world to China. Any country serious about its climate goals and building out renewable energy has to buy these critical materials. And as long as the supply is monopolized, they have to pay whatever the dominant supplier asks. This drives up the cost of every electric vehicle, every wind turbine, and every solar project built outside of China, giving Chinese green industries a major competitive edge. What does this mean for you? When you buy an electric vehicle, you're not just paying for the car, you're paying a premium that flows directly into maintaining this monopoly. Every solar panel on a roof, every wind farm in the countryside, every piece of green technology built outside China carries this hidden surcharge. The green energy tax isn't collected by your government. It's collected by the nation that controls the supply. It's a masterful economic strategy that turns the world's urgent need to decarbonize into a source of immense wealth and leverage for a single nation. The world is finally waking up to the danger. Recognizing the immense risk, Western governments are scrambling to build alternative supply chains. The United States and the European Union have both enacted major policies, like the EU's Critical Raw Materials Act, to kickstart domestic industries. These plans aim to increase mining, processing, and recycling, with the EU setting a target to limit reliance on any single country to no more than 65% for any strategic raw material by 2030. Hundreds of millions of dollars are being poured into projects to revive mining and build new processing plants in North America and Australia. MP Materials has restarted operations at the Mountain Pass mine in California and is building a magnet factory in Texas. Australia's Lynas, the largest non-Chinese rare earth producer, is also expanding with support from the U.S. Department of Defense. But breaking a 30-year monopoly isn't easy. Building a new mine and processing facility can take over a decade and cost $1 billion. Western nations also have to contend with their own strict environmental regulations, the very rules that helped push the dirty business of rare earth processing to China in the first place. And China isn't standing still. In December 2023, it banned the export of certain rare earth processing technologies, a move designed to keep its advantage and slow down anyone trying to catch up. This isn't a short-term fix. It's a long-term struggle for the resources that will power the future. The push for green energy is not a lie. But the story we've been telling ourselves about it is dangerously incomplete. The transition to a cleaner world is essential, but we've built it on a fragile and monopolized foundation. We traded a 20th century dependence on oil from the Middle East for a 21st century dependence on rare earths from China. The race is now on to diversify, to innovate, and to reclaim control over these vital materials. It's a race that will demand immense investment, political will, and technological creativity. The stakes couldn't be higher. The outcome will not only determine the cost of the green energy transition, but will also redraw the map of global power for the century to come. The hidden truth of the 17 elements that run our world is finally out in the open, and the real competition has just begun. So what do you think? Can the West break free from this dependency? Or has China already won the rare earth race? Let me know in the comments below. And if this opened your eyes to the hidden forces shaping our world, hit that like button and subscribe to Mundane Marvels. We reveal the extraordinary stories behind ordinary objects, stories that change how you see everything. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.